It's that time of the year again. After the holidays, I don't know if you found it, but when you're on holiday or you have a time where you wind down, whether it's Christmas time or Thanksgiving or New Year or your birthday or Easter, it's actually quite amazing how many times we find in the year that we have an excuse to indulge in food that's not ideal for us. And then usually afterwards we feel terribly blah. I find it at times of the year when I've overindulged, and believe me, I do overindulge at times, especially when you kind of switch off and you just don't think about anything, and you go out and you're eating with people and maybe dessert is served and you have a bit of dessert and you're still eating really well. I mean, I still eat 90% better than most people when I'm what I call overindulging. But I still find that I may either overeat a bit or I may eat something that I know is not ideal for my body. And over a period of time, that sort of has an accumulative effect on my body. And I find I start to kind of slow down, and I may find my stomach's not working as well as I'd like it to, or my brain's not feeling as sharp as I'd like it to feel, or it usually does. Or I feel like getting that tickly feeling at the back of my throat, like a bit of cold or a flu or flu-y kind of feeling. It's at that time that my body's actually telling me that I need to go on a detox program or a cleansing program. And so what I want to talk to you about today is going on a detox program at any time. You don't have to overindulge. You don't have to have eaten really badly. It's just a time where you give your body a bit of a break. We have a break from our work. We go on holiday. We rest every 7th day. Most of us take Sundays off and we switch off and wind down. Most people will take one day off a week from work and just for leisure time. But inside our bodies, we may be resting our bodies externally. Our muscles may be rested and we may not go to the gym or go for a walk or something. But internally, we never actually rest our bodies. Now, on a previous DVD, I spoke in quite a lot of detail about fasting, which is a wonderful way to rest your body. And I'm not going to go into that now. I'm really just talking about going on an eating program. And this is something you can do while you work, which is fasting. It's not something you can do very comfortably while you're working. Well, I certainly can't. Whereas a detox program, you may feel a bit lousy for the first 3 or 4 days, and that's why it's quite nice to start it on a Thursday or Friday. By Monday morning after the weekend, you're feeling okay and you can cope at work. So the worst time would be over the weekend and you can just sleep it off. It's like almost having a food hangover. And so I'm going to work through a couple of different programs that you can follow to detox. Some of them are really radical and some of them are really mild. And it depends on where you are, where your head is, where your body is, what you feel you can cope with. Please don't feel that you've got to fast because that's the thing you've got to do. Don't feel you've got to go on the juice program or you've got to do the just raw only. If you can do any one of these particular programs, your body will be benefiting either way. So don't feel guilty because somebody else did a 2-week fast and you can't even manage one day. You must do what you're ready for at the time. Each one of us is unique. I believe that God has made us fearfully and wonderfully. And in the process of God creating us in our mother's womb and knitting our bones together and watching us being formed, He made sure that each one of us is unique, and each one of us can only cope with what we're ready for at the time. So don't compare yourself to me or anybody else around you. You manage what you can do, and don't put that kind of pressure on friends or on family either. You may find you have a husband or a wife who really battles with the whole food thing. They don't want to think about it. It's not part of their makeup in a sense. Whereas for you, you can just find it really easy to go on juices or on raw and detox, and they battle to just stop eating white bread. So don't lay that stuff on other people either. Don't make them feel guilty. I know it's difficult to do that, and we want everybody to feel as marvelous as we do. So this is a period that you'd go through from anywhere from 3 days to 6 weeks. Detoxification is something that the body is in the process of doing all the time. As I'm sitting here now, I'm detoxifying in that I'm breathing out, and when I breathe out carbon dioxide, which is a waste product. As I'm sitting here, my kidneys are working and accumulating urine in my bladder. But your body is going through this process all the time, and that's why we breathe out. Your skin may break out in a bit of rash. You may sweat. That's part of the detoxification process. So detoxification is something that's happening all the time. It's just that when our diet is not ideal, we slow that whole process down, and our body just sometimes needs a break so that it can get rid of all this. And the symptoms are, I'm feeling a bit sluggish. I may find that I'm not sleeping as well as I usually do. I don't have as much energy as I usually do. Or I may just find that my food is not digesting as well as it usually digests. And that's when I like to do this. When I'm under pressure and I'm on the go, I can't fast. Fasting for me, I've got to get away and be in a quiet place and really switch off. When I go on a detox program, I can do it anytime. I can be traveling around the world and be on a detox program. It's not a big deal because I can find fresh fruits and vegetables anywhere. I found them in any country that I've ever been to, and I haven't been to all the countries, but I can't imagine one where there's absolutely no fruit and vegetables, because even if you're in the middle of the desert, like I have been in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, there are always amazing supermarkets with the most amazing range of fruit and vegetables from all over the world. So let's go. Detoxification, let me just get this right out front. There are a whole bunch of symptoms you're going to experience, okay? So before I go through the different programs, let's just take a look at some of the detox symptoms. Very typical symptoms are flu-like symptoms: sore throat, snotty nose, waking up in the morning and coughing out copious amounts of mucus, coughing mucus up at any time of the day, postnasal drips. You may find you have, if you're a woman, a vaginal discharge. You may find you have really strong body odor. You may find oh goodness, horrible taste in your mouth, headaches, extremely tired, diarrhea, constipation. You may have a whole range of symptoms. And in my book, Perfect Weight, if you don't have it, you can order it off our website or from any of the main bookshops. But in the book, Perfect Weight, which is really about the hormonal system, but with an emphasis on weight, there's a fantastic chapter on fasting and detoxification. And I go into the symptoms of detoxification in quite a lot of detail. So if you forget everything I say, just make sure you've got the book next to you and you can always refer back to it, okay? They're unpleasant. It's not the time when you rush off to the doctor and go and take an antibiotic, because detoxification, you're not actually sick. Your body's just getting rid of the muck, and that's unpleasant. You know what it's like when you go and clean something that's really dirty, like a dirty oven or the engine of a car, or I'm speaking to most guys there, or anything, one of your kids' bedrooms, you don't know what you're going to find in there, and it's a very unpleasant experience. Well, that's what happens when your body actually starts to clean out. It's usually unpleasant, and headaches are not fun, but it's not an ideal thing to go and take a painkiller. And when you go and take a painkiller, your poor old liver's got to deal with it. Your liver's trying to deal with this whole detox program, so it just stops cleaning out and starts to deal with the painkiller. So it would be better if you could just get on your bed and sleep it off. Drink lots of water. It's one of the things I need to encourage you to do, is to drink quite a lot of water. And the water that I drink is, I drink filtered water. I use the Brita water filter jug. They've got a wonderful sports bottle that you can fill up at any time, and you can just take it around with you. Have it in your car. Always make sure, even when you're not detoxifying, that you've got enough water with you. Part of the reason we need to go on these detox programs is because we simply don't drink enough water. So it's very important that you drink enough water while you're on the detox program. You do find that you get thirsty. Your mouth may feel very dry. Your throat may feel dry. And just the thought of drinking water makes me thirsty. Unfortunately, I've got some freshly squeezed orange juice here, which you can drink all day long as it's freshly squeezed, okay? You can drink other juices when you're not detoxifying, but when you're on a detox program, it's always best to drink freshly extracted fruit juices. Okay, so let's get going. Step number 1, or let's say the first detox program. Number 1, the first detox program is the all raw diet. That is 100% raw, not cooked. So what does that actually mean? That means that for breakfast you're having raw fruit. That means you can eat as much fruit as you like, And that means literally anything that we've got over here. Any nuts, any seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, pine kernels, almonds, pecans, or pecans, as they would say in the United States, cashew nuts, walnuts, brazil nuts, hazelnuts. The most important thing is that they're raw and unsalted, okay? So raw fruit, and I would have with that a handful or a quarter to half a cup of nuts or seeds. Mid-morning, any time that you would normally snack on something, if you're just a normal person who's been following a normal westernized diet, this is the time that people would eat chocolates or donuts or biscuits or cakes or a sandwich or something like that, okay? In the middle of the morning when you get peckish, ideally what you're going to have here is raw fruit, okay? And you can eat as much as you like. It's important to remember that there's no limit on the amount of raw fruit and vegetables that you eat. Don't tell me that you are hungry on an all-raw diet. You cannot get hungry because you can eat as much as you want. If you like eating 12 bananas, eat them. There's no problem to eating that. If you want to eat the whole box of mangoes, eat them. You may feel very full, but eat it. Most people think that feeling like they've had enough food means you have to feel uncomfortable. And the thing with eating fruit is your stomach is very comfortable literally within half an hour of eating. So you can eat, and remember this, as much as you like. So don't panic about it. There are people who say, but I'm a diabetic. The sugar that is in fresh fruit actually stabilizes your blood sugar. So it's important that you eat as much as you like. Listen to your body. You may find if you have blood sugar problems that if you eat nuts and seeds at a meal, that helps to stabilize your blood sugar. And then for lunch, you can decide if you want to have fruit, again as much as you like, or you can have a large salad. You could have some raw vegetables with a dip like hummus. We've made hummus in one of the previous DVDs. If you don't have the DVD, you can order it, or you can get the recipe out of the recipe books. Large salad, you can make chili pesto, which also on the previous DVD, you can make a sun-dried tomato pesto. You put dressings on that. It depends on how extreme you want to be on this program. So fruit or a large salad, as much as you like, okay? Mid-afternoon, again, there you can have fresh fruit or raw vegetables. And that's if you're still hungry after all of this, because this is a lot of food. And then for supper, you're going to have either, again, fruit or raw vegetables. Now, I often find when I'm going on a program like this, by about day 2, I start to detoxify a bit and feel a bit mucusy, and I tend to lose my appetite. So I find by day 2, 3, sometimes I don't actually feel like eating. So when I get to supper time, I don't eat. Or I may just have a glass of freshly extracted fruit or vegetable juice. Or I may have a smoothie, just strawberries and mangoes and ice just blended up together, for example. And we'll take a walk into the kitchen just now and have a look at some of the things that you can actually make. So you don't have to eat it. You can blend any of the stuff. You can juice it. You can juice your salad. You can have freshly extracted salad ingredients here, like carrots and cucumber and tomato and red peppers and anything you want to put in there. When I'm on this program, I always take my barley in the morning. So I'm in the morning here taking my barley life, and I take it with the just carrots, which is the dried carrot juice, and the ready beets, the dried beetroot juice, and I take it with my flax oil. So I'm taking my barley over here. Barley life. In fact, I call that the garden trio. And my flax blend, which is usually the Millbrook Superior blend, or if I'm traveling, I take the Omega in the capsules. And then if I get hungry after supper, last night I felt like something sweet, so I had dates and coconut. So you can have dried fruit on this, as long as the dried fruit is free of preservatives. Read the ingredients. If the ingredients don't tell you, if it doesn't say free of preservatives, then you know for a fact where it comes from. Unfortunately, some unscrupulous people put no preservatives, and the apple rings or the peach slices are bright orange or bright white, and that dried fruit with no preservatives on is always a dark color, okay? So that's one way of knowing. That's one of the first programs you can go on. And look, I know people that actually live like this and live very well, but it's very restrictive. This is great to do from, as I said, 3 days to 6 weeks. I find I tend to like my detox programs to go for at least 2 weeks, but it's not always possible. You may go for 3 days and somebody invites you, your husband comes home and tells you you've got to have dinner with the boss. Well, you can't just sit there and eat the salad, so it's actually ideal in that environment to try and eat a vegetable-based meal. What is important when you're on a detox program is that you should not be eating any animal flesh at all. No animal flesh, no dairy products. I'm just assuming that these things are already out of your diet. Things like refined sugar and caffeine, but they may not be. If you're going on a detox program, you cannot be drinking tea or coffee, and that's one of the reasons why you'll get some terrible headaches, why you'll get the mucus, especially if you're cutting dairy out of the diet for the detox program. You may find that you generally feel fine having a bit of feta cheese occasionally, or occasionally you have a bit of butter or cream, or a bit of organic cheese. But once you go on the detox, you could find mucus pouring out of every orifice in your body, and you wonder what that's from. And very often it can be from the dairy products. So it's very important that you not eat any dairy products or animal products of any kind. You're basically a vegan while you're detoxing. A vegan is somebody who doesn't eat any animal products at all. No butter, no cream, no cheese, no chicken, no fish, no meat. The reason you have to have animal products out of your diet when you're detoxing is that animal products contain animal fats, animal protein. It's a very, very laborious, expensive, time-consuming, energy-consuming process to digest animal protein. So if you're eating it occasionally, not more than once a day, which is the basic 5 steps of the natural way, eating animal protein occasionally, especially if it's organic, some people find that they do very well like that. Other people, for example, like myself, I find my hormonal system doesn't work very well with animal protein. So I haven't consumed it for probably 20 years now. But that's because my body doesn't respond very well to it. But when you are on a detox program, you can't afford to use energy to digest animal protein. You've got to be eating raw protein, and that's why we do the 1/4 to 1/2 cup of raw nuts or seeds. So no animal protein, no dairy products, no caffeine, no artificial sweeteners. I'm assuming all of this stuff is already out of your diet. Preservatives, additives, colorants. If you are just seeing this DVD, you're at somebody's house and you walked in and you're just a normal person eating a normal diet, then just going on to the natural way 5 steps is enough of a detox for you to start off with. And you need to maybe go a little bit slower. Probably do the detox, the last detox we're going to take a look at. This is pretty extreme for the average person, but if you've been on the natural way for a while, this is pretty easy for most of us, okay? It's easy to do in summer, of course, when things like mangoes and cherries and strawberries and peaches and nectarines are available. So I do find it easier to do then, but I do find that in winter, things like the papayas and the apples and the pears are very delicious because they're winter fruits. So I find that it's actually easier. It is also easy in winter to do, but when it's very cold like that, it sometimes is not that easy. Right, so we've got the all raw diet, okay? Then the next program that we've got, number 2, would be the juicing diet. When you wake up in the morning, I would have, for example, my garden trio. That's my barley life, just carrots, ready beets, and my omega 3 and 6 blend, either the Omega or the Millbrook Superior blend. And then for breakfast, you're going to have freshly extracted vegetable or fruit juice. Now just a word here for people that, anybody who suffers from gout or arthritis may find that just fruit juices is not as beneficial for them as rather focusing more on the vegetable juices. And that is, people with arthritis and gout, sometimes fibromyalgia, find that because their body is out of balance, they're unable to process natural fruit acids efficiently. So they're better on carrot and celery juice, for example, and the sweeter fruits like your mangoes, and they may be better off with banana smoothies, for example. You could have, when I say this is a juice diet, it could be just juice or it could be smoothies as well. So you can do freshly extracted juice or you can do smoothies, and I'm going to show you the difference between the two, okay? So your breakfast is freshly extracted juice, your mid-morning is freshly extracted juice, your lunch is freshly extracted juice, your mid-afternoon is freshly extracted juice, and your supper is freshly extracted juices. It's that simple. If you're in a work environment, I suggest that you juice enough for you to take to work and you're able to sip on it. So you're basically having at least 5 glasses of juice. I wouldn't really have more than about 6 glasses of juice a day. Take into consideration that a glass of carrot juice contains an entire bunch of carrots, and how often would you sit down and eat an entire bunch of carrots? So it's a lot of concentrated nutrients. This is great to do when your digestive tract's not working really well. You feel you need to give it a rest. It's wonderful for people like they have stomach ulcers, for example. They would also go more with the vegetable juices than the fruit juices. So they would go carrot and celery, which is ideal. They would go maybe a bit of ginger in it. They may go smoothies. But you're basically giving your digestive tract a rest. And that is what I like. This is kind of the next thing to fasting, is going juicing. But this is not a juice fast, because having nutrition in your diet is not a fast. And I explained that on the previous DVD, okay? So that's just the juicing. Okay, number 3 is the smoothie diet. Or a combination. And basically what you're doing here is you're doing a combination of these 2 programs. You're doing the fruit and vegetables and you're doing the juicing, but because you're trying to rest your digestive tract and you may not have time to think about it, you may find you have a sore mouth and you can't chew, or for whatever reason, you just feel like you're tired of eating. You do a combination of them, and you are blending your fruit, not extracting the juice, and you're extracting juice. So it's a combination of both. You could be eating the fruit, blending, and you could decide what you'd like to do. That's entirely up to you. There is another version of this all raw diet that you may feel you need to do, and that is a completely fat-free diet. And that is particularly when somebody has problems with the liver, and they may have stomach ulcers, for example. We exclude the nuts and we take out any oils for a period of, I don't like doing it more than 2 weeks, because you can't, you've got to have essential fatty acids, otherwise your hormonal system doesn't work too well. But sometimes the liver and the digestive tract just needs a break from fats, and it may be 3 days or 2 weeks, but I wouldn't go longer than 2 weeks. So it would be basically this program, or the juicing program, or the smoothie program, which is a combination of really the other 2 and being able to blend it. And in that you would exclude the nuts and the fats out of it, okay? The basis of all the detox programs is really this program here. And we'll see that number 4 would be the same as the all raw diet. The only thing that would change, so you do the all raw diet, you'd go breakfast, your raw fruit and vegetables, mid-morning, your raw fruit, your nuts and your seeds, unless you're on a nut and fat-free diet. Mid-morning, your raw fruit, lunch, your fruit or your large salads, mid-afternoon, fruit or raw vegetables, and supper. The difference here would be that you would have, the one change would be supper would change, and there you would have a large salad or raw vegetables, and with that you would have steamed or baked neutral vegetables. Now, what do I mean by neutral vegetables? Those are vegetables that we consider to be non-starchy. They're not carbohydrates as such. So we're not talking about potatoes or rice here. We're talking about your steamed veggies. Could be baby marrows or courgettes. Same thing, different countries call them different things. What do the Americans call them? Zucchinis. Zucchini, okay? Could be little baby gem squash. You don't get gem squash everywhere in the world. I know in the UK you battle, in the States. So any of the sort of pumpkin family. You could do a butternut, squash, carrots, any of the veggies that you may like, and that's what you'd have is steamed or baked, okay? Then the fifth program is exactly the same as this, and this is really how I eat in a normal day. I have my garden trio for breakfast. People are always asking me how I eat. I have my flax blend, my Millbrook Superior blend, or the Amiga, depending on where I am at the time. I have my raw fruit with my nuts and seeds in a smoothie. I snack on fruit basically throughout the day. And then my supper, which is usually quite early, I like to eat somewhere between 4 and 6 o'clock in the afternoon. What we have is, we'll have either a large salad and raw veg with steamed or baked neutral vegetables, or, and this is particularly nice as well, if you just feel like, again, your digestive tract's not working as well as it should, it's cold, you don't want just raw stuff for supper, but you don't want to go with the starches, and you don't want to have any fats or oils with them, you just want some steamed veggies. And that's when I like to do just the steamed baked neutral vegetables. And that might be on a normal day. Then the way we eat, which is a detox program for a lot of people, again, the only difference that changes here at supper time is we will have large salad, raw vegetables, maybe some steamed, baked or grilled vegetables. So we'll do exactly the same, and we may have the veggies there, and with that we'll add some natural, unprocessed starches. Now what are those? Those are your potatoes, your brown rice, your millet, sweet potatoes or yams. What are the starches? Are there? Corn on the cob, quinoa. Some people like quinoa. I find it particularly bland, even when you add things to it. It's not my favorite grain. But find out whatever you like. So that's one of the things. This is a particularly easy way to eat, where you have your raw vegetables and fruit throughout the day. You're having your nuts. You have your natural unprocessed starches with some grilled mushrooms, for example. That's how we eat on a normal basis. When my diet gets out of balance is when, as I say, I go out or I'm entertaining, or when I'm entertaining, we always tend to overeat because I completely over cater, and then I feel that because there's so much food here, we better eat it all up. It's just a hangover from my youth. And that's when I find I've got to kind of backtrack and just go on raw food. Sometimes I do a combination of all of these. I'll do the raw only diet. What I may do is do a one-day fast. I like doing that, is actually a one-day fast. Somewhere between 1 to 3 days of fasting, which is just water only. I don't have, depending on where I am and what I'm doing, if I've got to do something and I've got to go somewhere, then I will have my barley life, but just the barley life without the carrots and the beets and the oil. And then I'll go on to juices maybe for a day, and then I'll go on to all raw for a period of 3 or 4 days, and that may be a week. So I may do a combination of all of them, and by the end of the sort of second week, the first or the second week, I'm reintroducing my natural steamed or baked veggies at night. So you could do a combination of all of them. The idea, as I said at the beginning, is when you are doing a detox program is to give your body a break. And if you're feeling that this is all too much pressure for you, then don't do it. So don't start feeling like you can't cope. The wonderful thing about doing this is actually so easy. You don't have to cook unless you're introducing the baked potatoes, and you're sticking to unprocessed starches, which means you're not eating pasta. There's no bread there. Those are processed starches. So there's very little food preparation to do. And if you decide to just do a totally fruit program on the all raw, there's absolutely no chopping or slicing, because you're not even making a salad. There's no dips involved. As far as salt goes, it depends on you. I find when I'm on an all raw diet, I benefit better from excluding salt and things like olive oil from my diet. And that sort of by the end of the 2 weeks, I maybe reintroduced a bit of herb salt, some of our organic herb salt, or some of our extra virgin olive oil. But I do find that I respond quicker when I don't have salt and olive oil in my diet. And sometimes my body just tells me, you've been overdoing it on the salt, because our organic salts are so delicious that I tend to kind of have more and more and more and more of it, and I've got to say, okay, no salt now for 3 or 4 days, and then I find my body responding better and my taste buds responding better, and I'm finding that I can do with very little salt in my diet. I also find that salt can sometimes trigger your appetite and you're not really feeling like eating, and you've put salt on it, now you want to eat more, and then you tend to overeat, and so you're kind of back to square one. So it is best, if you're on an all-raw diet, to leave out the salt, but if you really can't cope without it, and you can't cope without adding olive oil, then don't panic, because being on all-raw with salt and olive oil is better than not doing a detox program at all. So choose what you're comfortable with. I think that's probably the most important. I'm going to go into the kitchen, and what we're going to do is take a look at some of the equipment that I use in my kitchen. But just before we go there, I want to take a look at some of the products that you can use to actually help you detoxify. One of the products that I really like to use, and I encourage people to use when they are going on a detox program, is a product called Herbal Fiber Blend. The ingredients are psyllium husk, black walnut hulls, hibiscus flowers, alfalfa flowers, or alfalfa leaves at least, licorice root, shave grass, rose hips, cascara sagrada bark, oat straw, pumpkin seed, Irish moss, passion flower leaves, marshmallow root, yucca root, violet leaves, mullein leaves, slippery elm bark, witch hazel leaves, cayenne, and you can have it plain, and some of it is flavored with a natural raspberry flavor. But what you do is you add this to water. Now, this is very powerful, strong tasting stuff, and some people think that they're brave and they just take it in water and they're fine. I can only take this in liquid fruit grape juice. That's the only way I can take it. They do make it easy for you these days and make it in a capsule form so you can take it like that. But everybody I talk to says they swear that the powder works better because it tastes so awful. You can either take it in water, and I always use the Breeder water filter jug, which is fantastic these days because you can fill it in through the lid here. This is the best part about it. I like to use the liquid fruit. Grape juice is the way I take Herbal Fiber Blend. And some people like the series Hanaput. Some people like peach juice, liquid fruit, lychee juice, all other kinds of flavors. The grape juices for me are what works. And basically what you're doing is you're pouring a glass of water, and you're needing at least 2 heaped teaspoons. It says 1 teaspoon twice a day, increase gradually. I would go 1 heaped teaspoon like that initially, or 2, and then you just mix that up. Doesn't smell too bad, just it's quite strong tasting. And then you basically gulp this down. Now I'm going to let that stand while I talk about some of the other products that can help you, and explain to you why I particularly like this product, okay, for a detox program. The reason I like that product is it's not a laxative, it's not addictive, and what it does do is it actually softens hard stools, and I'm not talking about stools you sit on, I'm talking about fecal matter here. Number 2s, just in case you're not sure what I'm talking about, bowel movements, okay? It softens them if they're too hard. So if you suffer from constipation, it will soften them. However, if you've got diarrhea, it will form the stools, which means if it's too loose, it'll form them. If it's too hard, it'll soften them. So it's regulating your bowels. But what I love about it is, right, if you took the average person's colon and you actually just cut it in half transversely like that, you would find that on the walls of the average colon, there is what we call old fecal matter, and it just sort of builds up over the years from not eating foods with enough roughage in them, and not eating enough fruit and vegetables, and eating a lot of animal protein, and eating a lot of processed foods. And if you were to scrape all of this muck off once we died, the average person living a westernized lifestyle has somewhere between 1 and 10 kilograms of old fecal matter. That would be what's it? 2 to 20 pounds of old fecal matter if you're living in the UK or the States. Now what the Herbal Fiber Blend does, it attracts this away because it contains this very high levels of water-soluble fiber. It literally pulls it away from the walls and takes it out. So that 1 little teaspoon in that glass, you could end up having 6 extremely large bowel movements from 1 teaspoon. And I'm not joking. That's what happened with me after following a virtually raw fruit and vegetable diet, 90% raw fruit and vegetable diet for 15 years. I took herbal fiber blend thinking it would do nothing to me, and I had, I think, 3 extremely large bowel movements. I know we're talking about stuff that's very yucky right now, but I was shocked because that was 1 teaspoon. It was like I got rid of 10 kilograms of old fecal matter, and even after a natural diet for such a long period of time. So I like herbal fiber blend. I like people when they start the natural way to start with a herbal fiber blend to clean out the colon. You need to take it for at least a month, 1 to 3 months I prefer. It also destroys a lot of different parasites, but unfortunately not all of them, but a lot of them. So it's a great introduction to getting rid of parasites, probably a little bit slower than taking another product I'll talk to you about now. When you clean all this muck from the colon, what does happen is you find that you end up absorbing your nutrients more efficiently because you don't have all the stuff lining the colon. You may have had some of it in the small intestine as well. This is a product called Herbal Release. These are all made by the AIM company, and you can order them directly at the wholesale price. If you're not sure how to do it, then just contact us at info@mary-anns.com. Herbal Release is a product that's got a different blend of herbs in it. It does contain Cascara sagrada root as well, but berberry root, boldo leaves, buckthorn, burdock, chickweed, dandelion, echinacea, licorice root, parsley leaves, and sarsaparilla. And what this helps with is cleaning out the lymphatic system. Now, the lymphatic system is a fascinating system. Let me get a picture of the lymphatic system for you, and we can take a look at it. It's a system that transports clear lymph fluid around the body, transporting fats to the cells and waste products away. Lymphatic fluid, when it's full of muck, is what makes your armpits smell. Right, the lymphatic system is a fascinating system. If you take a look at it here on the picture, it looks almost like your circulatory system, like blood vessels, but these are lymphatic vessels which basically transport lymph fluid all over the body. Now, there's no heart to pump it, but what pumps it is movement, exercise, and that's why exercise is so important to this whole detoxification process. You need to be exercising, and you need to be having a massage on a regular basis. Try at least once a week, once every 2 weeks. If you're detoxing during the period of detoxification, make sure you're having a good full body massage because it helps to move lymphatic fluid. And there's a particular type of massage called lymphatic drainage, and you may have to ask your masseuse if they're able to do that or find somebody who can. But even a general massage will help to a certain degree. Exercise, of course, is excellent because it gets the lymph fluid actually pumping through these lymphatic vessels, and you actually find that as you sweat, that unpleasant odor that you can get the first sort of stage of exercising. If you haven't been using deodorant, you'll smell it. If you have been using deodorant, then it's ideal not to use deodorant while you're doing detox, unless you have to go to a really important meeting and you don't want to stink out the whole room, which can happen if you've been having a lot of animal fats and heated fats in your diet, okay? So this system is designed to transport excess fluid away from the tissues, transport fats to the cells, and it's very involved in the way your immune system functions. Your tonsils, for example, your appendix, your thymus gland are all part of this lymphatic system and the way that it works, and part of the immune system, not part of the lymphatic wall. They're all together part of the immune function of the body. So it's a very, very important system. And if you find your immune system's not working very well and you get run down, you get colds and flus, then you may need, and that's the time when you need to cut fats out of your diet for a period of 3 days to 2 weeks. And it's during that time that I would take the Herbal Release. I would finish the Herbal Release because the herbs in here stimulate the lymphatic system to clean out and help your immune system function more efficiently. Wonderful product, particularly ladies, for cellulite. I've seen a lot of people say to me when they've been using these products to get rid of cellulite efficiently. And I like to do this at least once a year, although I'm not eating copious quantities of heated or processed fats. Virtually never, and tiny amounts of animal fat occasionally, when a bit of butter or cream occasionally. I do find that when I've been using Herbal Release for a couple of days, I get this strange body odor showing that there's extraordinary cleaning out of the lymphatic system. The first time especially you'll notice the most symptoms, and then once a year at least If you eat animal protein on a daily basis and you eat animal fat on a regular basis, I would do this at least every 3 months. Okay, so that'll help you clean out your lymphatic system and help your immune system function more efficiently. And then some other products that Mark and I are busy using right now, and this is a fantastic product called Para 90. Para 90 contains, it's para for parasites. It gets rid of over 400 parasites that we're exposed to, anything from flukes to worms to all kinds of awful things. And you can have the most strangest symptoms. You need to actually order the product from the AIM company and get the data sheet from them as well, which explains some of the symptoms that can take place: poking feeling inside, extremely tired, headaches, very typical detox symptoms, but some of them strange. And you may find parasites coming out in strange places, so don't panic if something, it's rare, but they can come out of strange places. Generally they come out in the bowels. I don't look. If you want to have a look, it's entirely up to you. What Mark and I do is we actually put our name on here and the date we started taking it, just to make sure that we finish it. You're supposed to finish it in a month. It won't not kill parasites if that's what happens, but you're supposed to take 1 tablet 3 times a day for a month. So that's Mark's bottle and my bottle, and the date, so that we know by when we should finish it. Sometimes we kind of forget to take it at lunchtime, and we'll take 2 for supper, for example. But what I do take as well while I'm taking Para 90, because the herbs that are in here are very powerful. You've got sweet anise, worm seed, black walnut hull, balday leaf, bromeliad, butternut, clove, butternut bark, by the way, clove fruit, cramp bark, garlic root, grapefruit extract from the seed, neem, peppermint, pumpkin, thyme, and white oak bark. Very strong herbs, can be taken from the age of 3 onwards, and I would give it to every 3-year-old for their birthday, because every 3-year-old gets licked by a dog or a cat and picks up dirty things as babies and puts them in our mouths. Most people are riddled with parasites, okay, and they can contribute to your immune system not functioning properly. It's believed that they contribute to cancer, for example. I always take Flora food, also from the AIM company, which is intestinal bacteria, because this is powerful and it tends to just come and knock those parasites and can sometimes throw out your intestinal bacteria. And I find I get a bit gassy as the parasites are coming out, so I find the Flora food helps with that. And I always take this for a month after I've taken the Para 90. These can all be ordered from AIM. I do this once a year because I'm basically vegetarian. If you eat animal protein on a regular basis, I would do this 2 to 3 times a year, because you're exposed to a lot more parasites. Especially if you eat raw meat, like in South Africa we call it biltong, in the United States they would call it jerky, and in Australia they call it something else, but it's raw dried meat. You will be exposed to a lot of parasites, and maybe you should take it every 3 months at least. Okay, so those are some products that can really help us. One of the other things is, you may say, well, I'm going to get bored on this raw food diet. What kind of things can I make? So there are some recipes in the recipe section, but if you don't have my recipe books, go out and make sure you've got yourself a copy of each, recipe book 1 and recipe book 2. There are close on 600 recipes in these 2 books, and all of them, or most of them, can be eaten on the detox program. Depending on whether you go on raw juices or smoothies, there are juices and smoothies and raw things. There's salads in here. If you're including some cooked veggies, there's some cooked veggies in there. And in the recipe section on this DVD, we're going to be taking a look at some recipes that you can use to detox by. Let's go to the kitchen and look at some of the equipment you may need. Before we go there, let's take a look at this herbal fiber blend and see how the stuff is formed into this gel. And this is this substance that pulls away all that old fecal matter from your digestive tract. So if you leave it a bit longer, it sets, and you can actually, it forms like a jello or jelly, and you could tip it out and slice it in about 20 minutes time. All right, let's go to the kitchen. First piece of equipment in the kitchen that I use on a regular basis is a juice extractor, okay? The difference between the juice extractor and the blender and the citrus press I'm going to explain to you. Right, this juice extractor, most juice extractors operate, you have a chute and you push your fruit through there, you push the fruit down and it ejects the fiber into this container over here, and your juice goes into this holder over here. This particular one is a separator, which means that you don't get that frothy scum on top of your juice, which is quite nice, so you get a nice clear juice. And I like to do things like tomatoes, pineapples, apples. Any fruit can go through here, but I do find things like papaya, mangoes, the very soft fruit, bananas don't do well through the juice extractor. They do better with a blender. Now what this does is, let's just take a look at this actually equipment. This is, they all work on the same principle basically. You push the fruit through the chute here. I'm just taking it apart to show you. These little things over here actually break the fruit. They macerate the fruit and spin it against the screen at a very fast speed, and that actually extracts the juice, and the juice comes out and runs into that. So you're separating the juice from the fiber. That's the difference with the juice extractor. You're getting a very concentrated food. This is great if you're on a detox program, or if you're not well, you have a child that's not well, you use a juice extractor, okay? The blender is a totally different piece of equipment. What it has inside here is this blade, and this particular one, the blade, it can be unscrewed. So you've got the blade that chops everything up. Now, when you use a blender, you've got to make sure you've got fluid in here, otherwise that blade is going to break. You can't just put dried stuff in there like you could into a food processor. And I'm not really using a food processor much these days because I use the blender. It's just so convenient. So in this blender, what we would do is we'd put the soft stuff, okay? Stuff like berries, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries. These can be frozen. Berries are fantastic in a smoothie. Mangoes, papaya, banana are ideal in a blender. You fill it all up. You take freshly extracted juice, for example, either pineapple or apple juice, or we're going to take some orange juice from the side, and you would put it in, you put the lid on, and you simply switch it on, and it blends it all together. And in this you're getting the juice, the fiber, the whole food, but it's all chopped up. And this is not as concentrated as this, but it's great if you're giving your digestive tract a rest, or if you're in a hurry and you want to eat something quickly. Wonderful for breakfast in the morning. You can do any combination of whatever. You may find if you're prone to indigestion that you stick to the fruit combining on our food combining chart. Just the printed version of this food combining chart is at the back of all of my books. Okay, and then the third piece of equipment that I use is basically the citrus press, which is really just, it's an orange juice squeezer. We call it citrus press, which means lemons, oranges, grapefruit can be squeezed on this. You can't do any other juices on this. It just squeezes the juice out of a citrus fruit. And I add very often orange juice into the smoothies over here, and I make a blended smoothie. Shake.
As well.
I sometimes call this a shake. I love putting nuts into it. Almonds and cashews are my favorites, or no, cashews and almonds are my favorite nuts to add into the smoothie. They give it a lovely creamy phrase. I never ever put yogurt into a smoothie or into a shake because I'm dairy intolerant, and unless I want to have copious amounts of mucus sliding down the back of my throat or in any other orifice of my body. I do find dairy products cause a lot of problems with me from a hormonal point of view. Heavy menstrual bleeding is just one of them, so I try and avoid them mostly. So I like to add nuts to smoothies, unless of course they're bananas. I find bananas don't digest as well with nuts as the sort of more acid fruits like your strawberries. And then you've basically got the basics of what I use in my kitchen when I'm eating the natural way, and also when I'm on a detox program. I find these three pieces of equipment are absolutely essential on a detox program. For me, if I'm doing obviously juicing and smoothies, you can just use your teeth and eat only fruit and vegetables and go on a totally raw diet, and you'll do extremely well. You don't have to have this stuff in your kitchen at all, as long as you've still got your teeth.